I have one question for you. Our existence on this earth is solely because of the womb of a woman. So why is this how we treat women?
Good evening, good evening, good evening. Thank you for joining me here in Conversations with Taz for the Wednesday wrap up. There's so this week is just chock full of early just Christmas presents, Hanukkah presents, Kwanzaa presents, you name it, just all up in one. Where to start? You know what? Since we're wrapping up talking about the Tatiana Jefferson murder case and the former police officer that was responsible for her murder, let's dig into his background, because I know I've given you all little tidbits here and there, trying to give you the Cliff Notes version of that hours and hours of testimony of the trial. But here we go. Get comfy. Get comfy.
This video is being made for educational purposes only. Having said that, trigger warning in this one, it's just police doing what police do. This tweet came across my timeline that reads, "A jury found Officer Dean guilty of manslaughter after he shot a Tatiana Jefferson through her back window. A psychologist who evaluated him before he was hired said that he was narcissistic and he wasn't psychologically suitable to be a cop. Fort Worth hired him anyway." I wish I could say I'm shocked. But I'm not. And just so y'all know, I'm not just taking the Twitter at its word. I went ahead and looked it up. There are many articles that talk about the fact that there was a psychologist that deemed him not fit to be a cop, but Fort Worth did in fact hire him anyways. To get into the article and to get deeper into exactly how he wasn't fit, psychologist Kyle Clayton testified Dean exhibited grandiose, domineering, over-controlling personality traits. Clayton concluded Dean, 38, was not psychologically suitable to serve as a police officer because his narcissistic personality style could inhibit his judgment, decision-making, interpersonal abilities, and would make him more likely to engage in behaviors that would put himself and others at risk. However, according to Dean's lawyer, a panel of 3 psychologists unanimously decided that Dean was fit to be an officer. Clayton's evaluation was in 2017. Dean finished the academy the following year. Dean was found guilty of manslaughter Thursday for fatally shooting Jefferson, age 28, when he responded to a call at her mother's East Fort Worth home. Dean faces 2 to 20 years in prison for killing Jefferson. A doting aunt and aspiring doctor doctor who grew up in Dallas, Oak Cliff, and graduated from Xavier University of Louisiana. Dean could be eligible for probation. Jurors rejected a murder charge, which could have led to a life sentence. I don't know what the laws there are, but, you know, I know people are going to be pissed when they hear that they rejected a murder charge. I mean, here's the thing, right? This can't be first degree because there's no premeditation. Second degree would have to be he was committing a felony, which then led to a death, which I guess I don't know if he was committing a felony. He was responding to a call at her house and he shot. So you can't go with second degree either. So then we're talking about third degree and manslaughter. Third degree and manslaughter carry essentially the same kind of sentence. You know, I don't know what their laws are there, but that's just what I've been able to find on the internet. In a nutshell, here is what happened. A concerned neighbor called the non-emergency police line because they saw that Jefferson's front door was open along with lights being on in the house, and so they were concerned. Dean shows up, started prowling around the house, and when he got near the window, I guess he was making some noise or whatever, because Jefferson heard this, grabbed her gun, and approached the window, and I'm guessing Dean saw the gun, and so he immediately shot. Dean said he didn't announce himself because he suspected a burglary was still in progress and he didn't want to alert the perpetrator. Obviously that was not what was happening. Dean fired one shot, hit her in the heart, and both sides were essentially arguing whether or not he actually saw her gun. The prosecution argues that Dean didn't follow proper department procedures when he arrived at the home, whereas his defense team is essentially arguing self-defense, and those closest to him describe him as a dependable, upright, noble, and humble servant. I don't know whether or not he saw the gun. I don't know. The only person who will know is him. But what I do know is he killed this woman in front of her 8-year-old nephew. Reportedly, the doors were left open because they were making hamburgers and they burnt and the house filled with smoke, and so they left it open to air out the smoke. And I just want to say this quickly. I really hope that the neighbor doesn't, like, blame themselves. The neighbor did the right thing, right? When you see a house with all the doors open and the lights on, you would think something is up, especially depending on what neighborhood you're in. If it were me, I would have probably gone over myself to check it out. But again, like I said, depending on what neighborhood you're in, you might not want to do that. You might want to leave it up to the police. This isn't the neighbor's fault. This is all Officer Dean's fault. Hey there, guys. It's taken me a fat minute to get around to posting this video, but I do have an update for y'all. Officer Dean has been sentenced to nearly 12 years for taking the life of a Tatiana Jefferson. It's not the max like I had hoped it would be, but 12 out of 20 years is still solid. In the end, I just hope that the Jefferson family feels some type of justice from all this. I have no clue if Officer Dean meant for what happened to happen, but in the end, that does not matter. He unjustly took somebody's life, and for that, he needs to go to prison.
And just for further clarification, I know I keep reiterating this every day when we talk about the case. He did not see a gun. His partner testified he never saw a gun, and he keeps saying that he thought a robbery was still in progress. There was no robbery call phoned in. It was a welfare check on a non-emergency phone line. But yeah, look, the tea is hot tonight. The tea is hot tonight. There's so many updates. Now, you remember the Ohio Attorney General that had some egregious things to say about the unfortunate circumstances that resulted in a 10-year-old little girl becoming pregnant and having to flee the state of Ohio in order to get an abortion? Well, coming from the Associated Press, Ohio Attorney General revisits comments on girls' abortion. Ohio's Attorney General says he laments the pain that ensued after he suggested a national televised interview that an account of 10-year-old rape victim who sought an abortion in Indiana might have been a fabrication. In a year-end interview last week, the Associated Press Republican Attorney General David Yost maintained that his comments pertain to a one-source newspaper story and not a crime report or crime victim, because that didn't exist to the best of anyone's knowledge at the time that I spoke. Yes, it did. Yes, it did. The crime had been reported. It was all over the news, especially in Ohio and northern Kentucky. It was everywhere. You couldn't miss it. So as the Attorney General, you missed it? Like, this is what I mean by a faux apology. This is a classic faux apology. Just admit you were wrong. Just admit what you did was disgusting. Just admit that you were putting the onus on a minor victim Admit that you increased this girl's trauma. And Ohio voters admit he needs to be out of office. I swear for God. But wait, there's more. And coming from the BBC, FTX boss Sam Bankman-Fried flying to U.S. to face fraud charges. Remember, I told you before, the indictment came down. He was to be extradited. He decided not to fight the extradition from the Bahamas. Baby, you weren't going to be able to fight it anyway. They were going to send you back. The 30-year-old is being extradited on suspicion of committing one of the biggest financial frauds in U.S. history, U.S. authorities have said. Mr. Bankman-Fried, who denies the allegations, may have his first court appearance on Thursday morning. FTX has filed for bankruptcy, leaving many people unable to withdraw funds. According to a court filing, FTX owed its 50 largest creditors almost $3.1 billion. But you chilling in the Bahamas? Oh, yeah. You going to jail. You going to jail. And the thing about it is, you should have learned from Enron. You should have learned from Enron. See, the United States does not care if you steal from poor people. They don't even care too much if you steal from the middle class. You were stealing from the rich. You going to jail. You going to jail. And for those that think, oh no, Taz, the United States, they care about theft. They care about that. First of all, this country was begun off of theft. They don't care about stealing from the poor people. You think I'm joking? Let's revisit the whole Alex Jones debacle real quick. Okay?
You know how Alex Jones declared bankruptcy a while back, which triggered a stay order that halted the defamation cases against him and basically protected him from paying the families that sued him? I do now. Okay, well, anyway, a judge just lifted that stay order. Oh, that's great. That means he finally has to pay the families, right? No, actually, part of the judge's new order was that the families can't pursue collection efforts against Alex Jones yet. Oh, so what does it mean? It means that other cases against Alex Jones can go forward. Oh, good. But it also means that Alex Jones can start to appeal the previous cases against him, which he's already stated he's going to do. Oh. I'm sorry, I'm confused. Is this development good or bad? It's sort of like a lateral move, I think.
And here's a caveat that many people are missing in this. This also gives Alex Jones more time to continue to shift money around and hide it. Yeah, that was his game plan to begin with, to continue to shift money into companies that are under his sister's name, that's under his parents' name, all of these things. It's just giving him more time to pretend to be broke. And the more lawsuits he racks up, the less likely anybody is going to be paid. This is exactly what he wanted. Now, yet another example. Would you stop? As to why people say ACAB. Cops are still murdering us coast to coast.
This video is being made for educational purposes only. Having said that, trigger warning in this one. I came across this article with the headline, 5 Louisiana law enforcement officers indicted in deadly arrest of black motorists. To get into the article, the grand jury in Union Parish determined that 4 state troopers and a deputy, all white, will face state charges related to the death of 49-year-old Ronald Green on May 10, 2019. Suppressed body cam video was released in 2021 that showed the officers beating, stunning, and dragging Green as he yelled, "I'm scared." Facing the most serious of charges was Master Trooper Corey York. That's a fitting name. York was seen on the body camera footage dragging Green by his ankle shackles and leaving him face down in the dirt for more than 9 minutes. York was charged with negligent homicide and 10 counts of... Hold on.
Malfeasance.
That word. 2 troopers, John Cleary and Dakota Demos, were each charged with 1 count of obstruction of justice. Former Trooper F. Commander John Peters faces the same charge. Union Parish Deputy Chris Harpin was charged with 3 counts of malfeasance. I've never heard that word before. The grand jury began hearing evidence last month. The troopers were seen on body camera video stunning and striking Green during an arrest after a chase that began in Washita Parish and ended in Union Parish. I hope this guy ain't got expletive AIDS, one trooper said on the video as Green cried out in pain and fear. The trooper's remark was part of a 46-minute recording of body camera footage obtained by the AP more than 2 years after Green's death. Louisiana State Trooper Chris Hollingsworth, who died in 2020, is heard admitting on his body camera audio that he beat the ever-living expletive out of Green when the pursuit ended. In the audio, Hollingsworth adds that Green was spitting blood everywhere and then all of a sudden he just went limp. Louisiana State police officials initially told Green's family, who filed a federal lawsuit in his death in 2020, that he died on impact after crashing his car into a tree during the chase. Post-mortem photos and picture of his car, however, showed damage inconsistent with his injuries. Green's autopsy also showed that he had neither drugs nor alcohol in his system. Authorities had initially said he was intoxicated at the time of his death. State police officials later released a single-page statement acknowledging there was a struggle between Green and the troopers. It truly breaks my heart to read stuff like that. I don't even want to imagine what his final moments were like and how scared and how much pain he must have been in. That happened back in 2019. I hope that every single officer is found guilty. I hope they all get the maximum sentence. They killed this man. They killed him, lied about it. Now they need to be punished.
Oh, and if you thought policing got better, it doesn't.
This woman tried to return a lost credit card. Sandra noticed a lost card at the counter and followed the customer who walked out last. The woman agreed, but she lied to Sandra. Later, she spent hundreds of dollars on alcohol. Sandra's picture appeared on social media, saying she used someone else's credit card illegally. So, she went to the police office to try clear her name. But officers didn't believe her, claiming that it was a criminal scheme.
Miss Wilson, would you like to provide me with a voluntary statement today?
I don't know what y'all want me to tell y'all. I just walked in the gas station and y'all took a picture of me and ruined my life.
Do you want
you gotta relax. I don't know what y'all want me to say.
Only after 4 months her nightmare came to an end.
This is unbelievable to me. No trier of fact, even in the light most favorable to the prosecution, could ever think that Miss Wilson is guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. Absurd and ridiculous and wrong. And this was not a thorough investigation.
The cops' bad work got her fired and ruined her reputation.
I've said it before, I will say it once more now. This is why, just like medical professionals, police officers should have to carry liability insurance. And the police officers who botched this investigation and cost this woman her reputation and her livelihood should have to pay out of pocket. No more should the public have to pay for the officers that don't even protect them. And see, this is why you have so much propaganda on TV showing you how quickly and how diligently and how gracefully they solve these. They don't even try. They don't even try. They just look at the first person that they see, decide that they're guilty, and try to make the evidence fitted. What else could you do? They're not properly trained how to do anything, not de-escalate a situation, not use any type of critical thinking skill, nothing. They're going in completely biased. And the repercussions only come when there's a public outcry. Not sure what I'm talking about? Take a good hard look at this next story.
This video is being made for educational purposes only. So by now, y'all have probably seen this cop's face, right? His name is Matthew Luckhurst, and he is a very, very, very crooked cop. As you can read in this tweet, he at one point gave a homeless person a shit sandwich and yet is somehow still getting jobs. Now, platforms like TikTok get a lot of shit, especially from America. Obviously, we have people in politics trying to ban TikTok from even being allowed in America. It gets a lot of shit, but if there's one thing TikTok has proven to be very valuable for, it is spreading awareness to certain issues, which is, what I do on my page. This man getting a new job hit TikTok, which made a lot of people talk about it. And surprise, surprise, this article came out. A Texas police officer who once gave a homeless man a feces sandwich has been fired again after outpouring of anger. The city's mayor said there have been an outpouring of emails from locals who were unhappy Luckhurst has been re-employed as a police officer. Mayor Sissy Gonzalez Dipple? What a name. It said in a statement, Matthew Luckhurst was released from employment with the Flores Police Department yesterday, December 13th. Our city manager, Andy Jocelyn, is implementing stricter hiring policies for all City of Flores employees. He is also working with Chief Herrera on the reserve program. As I said, Luckhurst at one point fed a homeless man a feces sandwich back in 2016, and he was terminated. Somehow he won his appeal because apparently you can't be disciplined for conduct that occurred over 180 days ago. He was later given a second indefinite suspension following an investigation into a separate incident in which he allegedly failed to flush feces down a toilet in the woman's restroom at a downtown bike patrol office and spread a brown tapioca-like substance on the seat. Luckhurst took responsibility for the toilet incident but said it was a prank and apologized. In hindsight, it was immature. He did not win that appeal. So I guess as it stands right now, Mr. Luckhurst is once again jobless. But I don't think he needs to be jobless like forever. It's just he shouldn't be a police officer anymore. Like, there have to be better quality candidates out there than the man who fed a homeless person a shit sandwich one time. Also, how has he not, gone to prison for that? I feel like if I worked at McDonald's and I shit in somebody's sandwich and gave it to them, I feel like I'd get in trouble for that, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think losing my job would be the end of things. I feel like they'd probably try me for attempted murder. In the end, police stations should stop hiring this guy, you know what I mean? Just don't do it.
A San Antonio cop was fired for giving a homeless man a sandwich full of dog feces, but not long after, he was rehired as a cop again. Officer Matthew Luckhurst was terminated after a series of offensive acts he considered pranks. First, he gave a homeless man a sandwich full of dog shit. Then later that same year, he defecated in a toilet at an apartment women's bathroom and smeared a brown tapioca-like substance all over the toilet seat and wall. Luckhurst said he committed the second act after seeing pictures of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and Ryan Gosling on the women's bathroom walls. According to the San Antonio Express News, he assumed the images were a dig at he and his male colleagues for not being as muscular or as handsome as they are. Both incidents took place in 2016, and after 4 years appealing the termination, as is allowed by the police union, the decision to fire him was upheld. But within 5 months, Luckhurst was hired as a reserve officer for the Floresville Police Department, a city located just 30 minutes outside of San Antonio. He managed to stay employed until last week, when the mayor of Floresville received a flood of emails and phone calls from residents demanding he be fired. The San Antonio Express News named him as an example of the state's failure to hold bad cops accountable when hiring new officers. Shortly after the outrage, Luckhurst was fired again. The Floresville Police Department said that they were unaware of the incidents in San Antonio. Bad cops getting fired, then rehired at smaller law enforcement agencies is a common and often criticized occurrence. In July, a Cleveland police officer who shot and killed 12-year-old Tamir Rice managed to get a new job as a cop in a small Pennsylvania town before he was pressured into resigning 2 days later.
Did y'all catch that this man went into a woman's bathroom? You know, the same type of people that are so worried about a trans woman going into the woman's bathroom. Why was he in the woman's bathroom to begin with? And then his little fragile ego caused him, I can't even say exhibit childlike behavior, because even a child wouldn't do that. That's utterly disgusting. And he knows that so you're going to make the janitorial staff have to come in full biohazard gear to get... Cishet white men are the worst. They are the worst. But their counterparts are no better. Now I know there are a lot of daughters who feel like, growing up or even in adulthood, they've been bullied by their mothers. There are wives that feel like they're currently being bullied by their mother-in-laws. But has anybody ever had a mother literally spend years bullying their child for GP? Let's expand on this.
I came across this article with the headline, Teen Discovers Anonymous Cyberbully Who Harassed Her for a Year Was Her Mother. And I'm going to assume that this ray of sunshine is her mother. To get into this brief article, Kendra, I believe her last name is Italian, and I think it's pronounced Licari. I probably said that really, really wrong. I'm just going to call her Kendra for this video. Age 42, was charged earlier this week with 2 counts of stalking a minor, 2 counts of using a computer to commit the crime, and another count of obstruction of justice. According to FBI investigators, Kendra targeted her daughter and her daughter's boyfriend last December and attempted to cover up her act by filing a complaint with the Beale City Schools Administration. Around that time, Kendra worked as a girls' basketball coach at a school, and at the end of the season, she was asked not to return due to coaching changes. School district officials said the cyberbullying occurred off of school grounds and the school's devices were not used. They decided to involve local authorities to look into the case as the harassment started in early 2021. Isabella County Prosecutor David Barbary said the investigation was intense since Kendra allegedly used slang to make it seem like the catfish was the same age as her daughter. After authorities were stuck with no other options, they turned to FBI's Computer Crime Deviation in April and discovered a few months later that they believed Kendra was involved in the cyberbullying. Superintendent William Chilman said in a statement that the FBI officials were able to track down the IP addresses used to send the messages to her daughter. After Kendra was confronted about the cyber harassment, she broke down and made a full confession. She was released often her arraignment. She was released often her arraignment. Did they mean after her arraignment? Or am I stupid? Whatever, it's the latter. And she faces multiple charges, which include using a computer to commit the crime, stalking a minor, and obstruction of justice. Each count is a 5-year felony. Apparently, it is unclear as to why she committed these crimes. I have 2 ideas. Number 1, the mom was into the boyfriend. Or number 2, and this is probably more likely, this mom just has really bad control issues over her daughter. Either way, really fucking weird. I talked about this in another video, where I talked about a police officer that was caught stalking a random black woman. I recently finished Netflix's new series, I Am a Stalker, which is a play off of their I Am a Killer series. Really good. Y'all should watch it. This case, I could totally see end up on that show. I don't know about y'all, but I've never seen the appeal of stalking, never seen the appeal of catfishing. Can y'all imagine your Joker arc started because your mom was catfishing you? That'd be a hell of a fucking story, wouldn't it? Like, my god. In the end, I hope this girl's okay. I hope her boyfriend is okay, and I want to know why the mom did this. Like, I think she needs to be held accountable for this, but I also really want to know, like, why? Why your own daughter? That is so fucking weird.
Now imagine somebody starts cyber stalking you. You go to the person that is supposed to protect you, and you're telling them, you're crying your eyes out, you're psychologically damaged from this. You can't seem to get away from this person. No matter how many times you block them, you lock down your accounts to private, they can always find you on social media. And to come to find out, it's your mother. She's psychologically damaging you on both sides. The trust issues alone. And when she was released from jail, my biggest question is, where was she released to? Because hopefully not the home that that young lady resides in. Hopefully there is another adult in that young lady's life that can take guardianship of her. Because, oof, child. Like, that's taking mother-daughter competition to a whole nother level. A whole nother level. You know what? Before we dive into the second half of all of these shenanigans, let's get into the ads. Sorry, I still didn't get a chance to fix the audio. Still not feeling the best, but we're going to make it do what it do. See you in 2 and 2.
Black girls magic, black girls rock. Once we get together, we can't be stopped, 'cause we queens, relevant, queens, intelligent queens, beautiful queens, ayy. Black girls magic, black girls rock. Once we get together, we can't be stopped. Cause we queen, relevant, we queen, intelligent queens, some beautiful queens. Hey. This one goes out to my sisters from other misters to let you know I'm with ya. Cause we are Nubian goddesses, princess and queens. Yeah, this is our anthem, this is our team. So don't let them say that you ain't beautiful, be true to you. And don't let them say that you ain't relevant, it's evident we queens. Talented queens, gifted queens, inspiring queens, hey. And no matter what you're going through, just keep your head up, boo. Cause God gave us the power, and it's all in you. You the
So you may have seen this person.
I hate woke people.
Yeah, we went to college together, and I just thought you'd like to see that this is also her.
Do you think I would go to a restaurant to eat somewhere just because the owner was black? Why the fuck would I do? Oh my god. Someone makes the ugliest fucking thing ever. Who knows this, okay? And they're like, oh my god, some fucking woke ass white dumb fuck would be like, oh my god, they're black, so I'm gonna go support them. Like, what? Like, why? So yeah, if their food is good, if their designs are good, absolutely, I don't give a shit who makes it. Are you kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me? Like, what in the actual fuck is wrong with today's society? Like, oh my god, that is racist, you fucking idiots. Like,
Opens with, I don't care who makes it as long as it's good, then proceeds to have a meltdown at levels that I'm assuming only dogs can hear, because I couldn't make out the end of that. Okay. You know, if you're a racist, learn the definition of racism. It will make it easier for the rest of us. Like, racist and Christians really bother me because none of them know their playbooks properly. Like, you're given a playbook. You don't even understand the words that are in the playbook. Do better. Do better. Oh, shit. Caramba. But from one nitwit to another, Lauren Boebert is just watch.
So Republican Lauren Boebert just went on this really strange and conspiracy theory-filled rant at this conservative event that she's speaking at, and she's also screaming at the top of her lungs, and not many people are applauding her. And if you don't believe me, just take a look for yourself.
And we're going to make y'all proud. We're going to make America proud. We are going to weed out the deep state, and that includes the sorry Department of Injustice. To take our country back. We will not relent. We will not retreat. We are moving forward from a place of victory, and we are going to put America first.
I mean, relax. You're gonna strain your voice with all those lies that you're screaming out.
Isn't it ironic that finally the constituency is getting tired of the lies, the BS, and everything else? Oh, and speaking of GOP lies, remember last night we talked about Congressman-elect Santos? Little Mr. Catch Me If You Can 2.0. Well, you know, your girl hasn't been feeling the best. So while I couldn't really move around and do what I normally do, we went down some rabbit holes. Yeah, looks like I'm not the only one going down these rabbit holes regarding him, because it gets crazier and crazier and kookier as to exactly what he lied about.
Do you guys remember how slim of a majority the Republicans won in the House this past November? Well, one of the seats they picked up was New York's 3rd Congressional District. George Santos beat the Democratic incumbent. He's due to be sworn in next month, but we're just finding out now, thanks to the New York Times, that his resume has been completely fabricated. We're talking Herschel Walker. No, I would say worse than Herschel Walker level lies. Let me break it down. There are no records of him attending the colleges that he claimed to graduate from, including NYU. There are no records of him working for the companies that he claimed to work for, which includes Goldman Sachs and Citigroup. There's no record of his animal rescue group that he claims to run. He laments on Twitter about the perils of being a landlord, yet there's no records of him owning any properties. He claimed that 4 of his employees died at the Pulse nightclub shooting, yet none of the victims are associated with him in any way. He has claimed to be Jewish and also claimed to be Catholic. He has, however, been criminally charged in Brazil for check fraud, which is something that he actually admitted to, and he was evicted from his apartment in New York City in 2015 and then again in 2017 for lack of rent payment. His financial disclosure form suggests that he is loaded. He claims that his family runs a firm which manages $80 million in assets, but you guessed it, there's no record of that company. He injected $700,000 of his own money into his campaign, which begs the question, where is this money coming from? Well, at least on one occasion, he held a fundraiser for a New Jersey animal shelter, $50 a person. That shelter never received any of the money. The Times attempted to interview Mr. Santos at the address where he is registered to vote, and that was associated with a campaign donation he made in October. But a person at that address said on Sunday that she was not familiar with him. Even his address is fake. And there's a lot more, but I'm running out of time here. Hey, Republicans, remind me again how Democrats love election fraud. Obviously, shout out to the New York Times. This is great reporting, but this really would have been helpful several months ago. On that same point, is there anything that Democrats won't fumble? I mean, did they do no opposition research? Like none? But here you go. This is just the latest con man attracted to Republican politics. I wonder why that is.
Ooh, we got some more tea on that New Yorker guy who lied about everything. He lied about where he worked. He lied on his resume. He lied about all of it. Well, his campaign website said that he was from Ukraine or Belgium. His mom's from Brazil. He lied about his grandparents fleeing anti-Jewish persecution in World War II. Who lies about that? Republicans. Apparently he's got a Florida address. He may not be from New York. Now we find out the IRS has no fucking tax forms of him having a shelter for cats and dogs. Damn. What in the catch me if you can? Bro, who the fuck are you? Really though, who are you?
Coming from AOL.com, Democrat who lost to George Santos calls on him to resign following New York Times report. The Democrat who lost the GOP Representative-elect George Santos in the race to represent New York's 3rd Congressional District is calling on Santos to resign after the New York Times published a bombshell investigation suggesting that he fabricated key parts of his resume during the campaign. The reality is Santos flat out lied to the voters of NY03, Robert Zimmerman, who lost to Santos by 8 points in last month's midterm elections, said in a statement late Monday. He's violated the public trust in order to win office and does not deserve to represent Long Island and Queens. But if you remember, leading up to the midterm elections, there were a lot of bombshells coming out. Most notably, I covered it here, that there were Republicans that were coming together and basically financing people to go to different parts of the country. There was even a former worker from the RNC that has come out to say, yes, this is true. Hence, we had Herschel Walker with the whole house paying taxes on it in Texas, running in Georgia, and all of these different things. They know that they're fabricating these things. The one thing that they're forgetting, that they're not taking note of, is that this is no longer 1988. This is no longer 1995. We have the internet. We can fact check things basically in real time. We can research people. Now, do y'all understand when I say before you vote for someone, research them? Because what their job is that we're tasking them with does affect you. It affects all of us. You need to know what interest they have. You need to know who they are beholden to, i.e., who they owe debts to. But I'm sorry, if nobody researched this man for anything else, phenotypically, who looked at this man and say, yeah, he came from the Ukraine? That would be like saying that I was born in Russia. Unless it's on a U.S. base that I don't know about being over in Russia. How? But people are getting tired. And they looking behind the curtain to see the good old Wizard of Oz. And speaking of that, January 6th listings came out today. Take a look.
They obtained a list of what they confiscated on January 6th. And this is not an exhaustive list. And they also have verified Cassidy Hutchinson's reports when she said Donald Trump reached across and tried to choke his Secret Service person. They said the Secret Service would deny it and they had proof. They never did, and it's been corroborated now. Donald Trump wanted to be there at the Capitol. Do you remember how he said get rid of the magnometers, the weapons detectors? Remember that? This is why. This was not some protest. This was not an exercise of free speech. 269 knives, 18 brass knuckles, 18 tasers, 6 pieces of body armors, 3 gas masks, 30 batons and blunt instruments, 17 miscellaneous items like scissors, needles, or screwdrivers, and thousands of others purposely remained outside the magnometers or left their packs outside. After he got into his SUV after his little speech, Trump was irate, furious, insistent, profane, and heated. Lock him the fuck up. Ooh, Tabitha! Miss Tabitha! They released a couple extra, some of the pages of the January 6th thing. Sorry. They released some of the January 6th transcripts. Sean Hannity, under oath. I don't believe it for 1 second. About how the election was stolen. That was him under oath. I don't believe it for 1 second. That same fucking day he went onto Fox News and said the election was stolen.
We have some massive breaking news. Donald Trump's lawyers are now in their own legal trouble. Cassidy Hutchinson, who testified in front of the January 6th committee, has spoken with the Department of Justice about Donald Trump's lawyers instructing her to testify that she doesn't recall. Basically, Trump's lawyers instructed her to lie in her testimony, and that is a crime. And knowing this, Cassidy Hutchinson reported this to the Department of Justice. So these lawyers and possibly Donald Trump are in even more trouble.
Not surprised. Not surprised. At all. Not surprised. It was already extremely evident that the Secret Service or members of the Secret Service played a hand in all of this and were willing to cover things up. That the fact that they deleted text messages and emails and didn't want to hand over devices in timely manners and all of that stuff. Not surprised. We all knew that Donald Trump wanted to be there. We all knew what Donald Trump's plan was. Marjorie Taylor Greene, already all over Twitter, was already saying how they were meeting. Lauren Boebert was tweeting in real time certain things. We know why the FBI was keeping a close eye on Twitter leading up to January 6th. And this is also why the FBI, shortly after January 6th, called upon the public to start turning people in. And if they recognize anybody from being on their following and or friends list on social media, to turn over that information so that they can make arrests. But in other not surprising news, coming from Fortune, McDonald CEO Chris Kempczinski, I think that's how you pronounce it, hit with racial discrimination lawsuit after firing security chief who criticized him in town hall meeting. A former security chief from McDonald's is filing a racial discrimination lawsuit against the company and CEO Chris, claiming he was fired for speaking out in a meeting. Michael Peaster was the vice president of global safety, security, and intelligence until 2021 when he was fired after 35 years at the company. McDonald's claims this was down to performance issues, but Peaster says it was part of an effort to oust him after he dared to criticize Kimchinsky in a town hall meeting. Peaster, who is a black man, has spoken out in the meeting, which was called to discuss a text sent by the CEO to the Chicago mayor, Lori Lightfoot, reflecting on 2 fatal shootings. The text read, P.S. Tragic shootings last week, both at our restaurant yesterday and with Adam Toledo. With both, the parents failed those kids, which I know is something you can't say, even harder to fix. Do you keep that same energy for school shooters? Especially the one school shooter where his parents fled and were going to leave him behind and then paid for a defense team for themselves and not him. And every time they're in court, they make googly eyes and kissy faces at each other and act like they don't have a child. When the words were made public, it drew mass outcry, and Kimchinsky was accused of racism and victim blaming. He later responded to the backlash by saying that his message lacked the empathy and compassion he really felt for the families who lost their loved ones. No, it lacked anti-racism. It was riddled with microaggressions and racial tropes. Just, I mean, and you sent this to a black woman, and you didn't think it was going to go public. You sent it to a black woman. Lori Lightfoot is a black woman. Like, this is what I mean. Racism makes people way too comfortable, and racism plus money gives all the Anglo audacity and the mancacity on the planet. It is like it is a Prime Day sale on Amazon. Like, you sent that, you typed it out, looked at it, knowing the recipient was a black woman, and said, yeah, this is the move. But you want to know what else was the move this past week? Vandalism. Vandalism at a New York council.
Well, hey there, y'all. So in today's They're Not the Groomers news. Y'all, this is New York City Council member Eric Botcher. Because of his affiliation with an endorsement of a drag queen story time there at a Chelsea library for neurodiverse children, 2 women showed up at his apartment building, entered it, and vandalized it. They left messages calling him a pedo child groomer, child predator, and groomer. The event was held on Saturday, but as of Monday morning, the hallways in the building that houses his council district office were also vandalized. But no arrests have been made in this case. Eric Botcher tweeted, "Tonight the Drag Story Hour protesters came to my apartment building and gained entry. My super called the cops and 2 of them were arrested for trespassing. This is pure hate, unmasked. If they think this is going to intimidate us, they're mistaken. Our resolve is strengthened." Eric Botcher was elected to represent District 3 last year and took office in January. He said that Saturday's event helped children grow by learning how to read, and said, "Today I witnessed pure hatred and bigotry outside Drag Queen Story Hour at a public library in Chelsea. Inside, I witnessed a loving and peaceful reading of children's books to kids." Unfortunately, drag queens have become the target of GOP fanatics, calling them child groomers. Because of the inflammatory rhetoric surrounding drag queen story time by the GOP, these events have been targeted by far-right extremist groups that have terrorized these events. So let's talk a little bit about what child grooming is. This is when someone befriends or establishes an emotional connection with a minor under the age of consent, and sometimes the child's family, to lower the child's inhibitions with the objective of sexual abuse. This is typically done by people who are close to the family or have some type of an authority over the child. For example, like, I don't know, a pastor who uses his counseling sessions to initiate sex with a minor. Like this. Like this, all of this. Drag queens are some of my favorite people. The only thing they groom are wigs.
Behind any of this, you have these people that are adamant that drag queens are the groomers, they're such a detriment to children, but the only ones invoking violence, the only ones stoking fear, are the ones making the claims against the drag queens. They're like, oh, you're putting children in danger. Beckiana, you don't think it's you showing up with an AK? Like breaking into people's apartment buildings, vandalizing, showing up in full tactical gear with firearms, trying to physically attack drag queens with children watching. But you have no problem with the Macy's Day Parade and the scantily clad young ladies there and the shirtless guys. Just, you have no problem taking your kids to Hooters or Twin Peaks. I've seen some of the get-ups at some of these Trump rallies. You don't have a problem with that. You didn't have a problem with toddlers and tiaras. You didn't have a problem, and you tried diligently, GOP, to cover up that when Trump was owner of some beauty pageants, that he would walk in on underdressed, underaged young ladies. Y'all didn't have a problem with over the summer in several states trying to lower the age of consent and lower the age of marriage. Child brides are still a thing in the United States, leading to generational trauma and generational child brides and generational abuse. But drag queens helping the children that you so diligently claimed you were protecting via the overturning of Roe v. Wade is wrong. Who are you really trying to protect? Okay, let's woosah for a minute. Let's chit-chat about some Harry and Meghan observations.
Did you know that the exact moment Harry and Meghan decided to step back as royals was after the palace released a statement from Harry and William without Harry's permission? I had always assumed that the last straw was the endless news stories bashing Meghan, but no. It was apparently right after news leaked that the couple wanted to move to Canada, and William blew up screaming at Harry about the decision. Later that same day, tabloids correctly reported that William low-key bullied Harry out of the family, and the palace immediately was like, no, let's put that rumor to rest, and they put out a joint statement from William and Harry, even though Harry did not approve or even know about it until it was out. So fake statements aside, this was even more insulting because Harry said him and Meghan were constantly asking for help from the institution, but they were very hesitant and very slow to do anything. But the second William, the heir, needed things to be cleared up, they lied on his behalf. So they were done.
It proves that Hillary Clinton was right all along. Nancy Pelosi was right all along. Chuck Schumer was right all along. The Democrats were right all along. After a 6-year battle to keep his record shielded from the same scrutiny that every president has faced since the 1970s, House Democrats have voted to publicly release former President Donald Trump's tax returns. In 4 of the 6 years reviewed, Trump reported a negative income to the IRS. His income was in the green in 2018 after his first full year as president, and again in 2019. Before falling back into the red in 2020. In 3 of the 6 years reviewed, Trump paid $750 or less in federal income taxes. That includes 2020, where he paid $0.
Like, we knew he was trying to use the White House to turn the profit, but he couldn't even do that for more than 2 years. And it's so pathetic. It is so freaking pathetic. But he shot himself in the foot. He was trying so hard to keep people out because he knew that his base liked to spend money face to face and spend money on his rallies. Like, he spent more time rallying and playing golf than actually being president. But he killed off so much of his base. He put them in a financial bind that he hurt his own pockets. And then before you go, but he's making it all up now in the crypto. Is he though?
All going for well over $600 at the moment. That's worth about $750. So a quick note here, because this person thinks they know what they're talking about again, and they're just looking for something to make fun of because something in their life just isn't going well enough for them to be happy for other people. I made money on buying a Trump NFT for about $99, and I sold it for about $550 the other day.
No. No, you didn't. I watched your videos, and then you link Ethereum, okay, to the value of this particular item. The problem is that those numbers are all made up. Because here's the issue with crypto. As a general rule, there's no actual value behind it. It is completely reliant on the greater fool theory, which basically states that you paid X amount to have X amount of this thing that doesn't produce a product, that doesn't do anything, and you're just hoping to sell it to somebody else who's a bigger fool than you at a greater price. There's actually no value in any cryptocurrency at all. It's purely based on speculation, what people think that crypto is going to do. And people will always try and point to market cap to say, well, no, these cryptos have value. But market cap only designates a price, doesn't actually show value. Market cap is calculated by multiplying the circulating supply of cryptocurrency or token by its transaction price. It's a widely used metric for measuring the size and value of cryptocurrency or token network. For example, you'll see that there's like 17 million in Bitcoin, and it's selling for whatever that price is that day. Multiply the two together, and that's the market cap. That's the supposed value. It doesn't show you the value. It shows you the price that somebody's willing to pay. And prices can fluctuate based on irrational sentimentality. In the last few years, Bitcoin and Ethereum both have had huge market cap changes. But what changed? What to cause that? They didn't bring out any new products. They didn't revolutionize anything. It just, people paid more for it because they were told it was worth that. To mention that those values are way overinflated because you have to think about what's actually circulating. In cases like Bitcoin, they're not even taking into account the 3 to 4 million missing Bitcoins that are out there, or people who are putting it in long-term storage as an investment. It actually decreases the amount of market cap and value that there actually is in these cryptocurrencies. If I wanted to, in about 20 minutes, I could create a cryptocurrency, put it on Ethereum with an ERC20, very simple, and then have 10 billion of this coin and sell just one for $1. That puts my market cap valuation at 10 billion? How this shit works. It is a pyramid scheme and it will collapse.
You may think you sold that item for $500. You haven't gotten that money yet, bud.
Hence why so many people, myself included, believe that this was just all a money laundering scheme for Trump. Because I'm pretty sure as the orders were coming in, with all the glitches, because nothing Trump does works properly, he was pulling the value out expeditiously. Now, the only way I can say somebody plausibly will not lose their shirt in this is because if you remember when I first brought you the story, Trump's own ad for it, his own commercial for it, stated that you could purchase it with cryptocurrency. And as he just so eloquently explained, that doesn't have any real value. So this is why I never got on the Bitcoin train. This is, yeah. No, thank you. No, thank you. Now, before we head out for the evening, as always, make sure you check out the links in the description of this video. If you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure you subscribe and click the bell. And if you like tonight's episode, please share. And the next time you come back to view, bring somebody with you. We got some more information on the Crooked Bling Bling Bishop.
Oh, Bishop Whitehead, how the other shoe has dropped. But before we get into everything, let's check the gram.
However, I want you to do some research. Don't let media shape your mind.
Research, you say? Y'all see how red my eyes are? Yeah, it's because I have been doing research for the last 3 hours, and the glitter around my eyes is starting to burn them. All right, let's do this. Let's go to my favorite part to start with, the documents. So in the first part, we discuss victim 1, which as we know is Miss Pauline Anderson. I covered this $90,000 lawsuit in a previous video. Go back if you need to refresh yourself. Now, scamming his former parishioner out of $90,000 was only count 1 for wire fraud. Now, count 2, the attempted wire fraud. Now, this is where it starts to get a little interesting. So an unnamed victim 2, only ever described as a business owner in the Bronx, was approached by Whitehead to try and convince him to give him $500,000. I'm going to be throwing some dates at you guys. Keep this in your head, okay, as we go on. Around April, May of 2022, he tried to convince this guy to give him $500,000 so that he could invest it into property and make millions. However, count 3, the attempted extortion, apparently back in February, this same victim number 2, he had actually extorted $5,000 from. They don't specify how, but the phrasing that they use in this document is wrongful use of actual and threatened force, violence, and fear. Now, this extortion attempt was clearly where the bishop effed up, because under the advice of law enforcement, the guy paid him that $5,000. Now, just a couple months later was when he tried to get the $500,000 out of the guy, saying that he could curry favor with New York government and make the millions. But the feds were definitely watching at this point and building a case against him, because on June 8th, 2022, they executed a search warrant on him. Now, count 4, false statements, is because when they confiscated his cell phone, he told them it was his only one, but he had a second secret hidden one that he used before and after the search warrant. And my favorite part of all this? They're seizing all of his assets that he obtained through these scams. I ran out of time, but stay tuned. I'm going to put together a timeline for y'all. Whitehead, part of me missed this little dance of ours. This is Representative Bill Pass.
I mean, if we're going to talk about grifting, we might as well go all the way in. Let's go. I had nothing better to do tonight.
This video is being made for educational purposes only. Ding! This tweet came across my timeline with another video of Julie Green. I listened to the entire thing. I have lost many brain cells, and I, for one, refuse to B, the only person that is losing brain cells, so I'm gonna play this video for you. I'm either gonna speed it up or cut it up, I don't know, I'll figure that out once I'm actually editing the video, but nonetheless, I give to you Julie Green.
The darkness will appear to take over, and hope will appear to be lost. Then, my hand will step in, and it will wipe them all out who are against you. Fauci is coming down. The Biden is coming down. Obama is coming down. Hillary is coming down. Nancy is coming down. Chuck is coming down.
My brain cell count is coming down.
Mitch is coming down. Adam is coming down. All the governments that hold you are all coming down. Facebook is coming down. Wall Street is coming down. China is coming.
I'm going to save you the rest of that, but this is the same woman who prophesied and was calling upon the African ancestors because they were going to ensure Trump would win in 2020. When I say that Christianity within the United States has been bastardized, this is a prime example. Like, only Christianity uses their religion to call upon the demise of other people proudly. From sporting events to business ventures to politics. And these prosperity faux prophets capitalize on it so much. They will sit there and tell you, oh yeah, your opponents, they're going down. No, in the Bible it says, no weapon formed you shall prosper, should you be an actual believer and you've cloaked yourself in the armor of the Lord. I'm paraphrasing, of course, but this is not what that means. This is not what any of that means. This goes to show you that racist white people that founded, I'm using this term very loosely, this country and their descendants, they know they're mediocre. They know they're not qualified for anything, that any position that they forced themselves into. Because why else do you need to pray for Hillary to come down? Y'all been trying to take the Clintons down for how long now? If there was something there, after the whole Benghazi investigation, they would be in jail. Like, I remember right before Trump announced he was running for president, there was a rumor going around, and the Trumplicans were, oh my goodness, were eating it up. They were gobbling it up that the Clintons had bought Haiti. Yeah, there were people who thought that Bill and Hillary Clinton bought a country, a black country at the Haiti, filled with Haitians that fought for their own liberation out of chattel slavery. Y'all thought that two lily white individuals from Arkansas just walked over to Haiti and was like, forget NATO, forget the United Nations, forget all of that. Let me buy you for a couple $100,000. And these black folks was like, sure. If it was that easy to buy a country, do you know that black, brown, indigenous peoples of the United States would have came together with all our finances and bought this shithole and renovated it? We would have done the ultimate house flip on this nation. And you know what? This is why this is why some people say that I can be intellectually arrogant, because people are stupid. And I'm out of patience. Yeah. But also, remember, Trump's homeboy, that's not his homeboy, because Trump never acknowledges him, but he's always talking about Trump, is kind of like a Lenny George type of thing from Grapes of Wrath. My Pillow guy. He almost incriminated himself in 4K. Let's take a look at this and then we can wrap it for the evening. But y'all got to see this. Y'all got to see this.
Mike will just not get out of his own way. Imagine being his lawyer. He was talking last night about something he obviously is not supposed to speak about involving one of his lawsuits. And mid-sentence on camera, his lawyer's like, stop talking. You have to see this.
I'm going to break a little breaking news, Brandon, to hear right now that this will probably surprise a lot of people. And I don't know if you know about it, but do you know what I took my about a lot of my team, at least the cyber team and the IT people. Do you know what county in the country I'm having them focus on?
What
for the next couple of weeks?
What? Which one?
It is just to hold on a second. Go talk there. I'm gonna see if I'm getting advice from my attorney here, not just saying.
My Pillow.
As many times as this man has been sued, he just cannot stop himself from having diarrhea of the mouth. He holds about as much water as a colander. None at all. A laundry basket could hold more secrets than him. A clear Ziploc bag could hold more secrets. I cannot. As always, thank you for joining me here for Conversations with Taz, especially on the Wednesday wrap up. I will see you tomorrow. Friday's show is kind of up in the air. It depends on whether or not the impending blizzard makes it to my area or not. We'll see. I would say I would pre-record a show for y'all, but numbers show y'all don't like when I pre-record because y'all like to interact with me, which I understand. I love to interact with you all too, and I appreciate you coming out and interacting. But as always, each one teach one, each one reach one. And if you like the show, bring someone back with you. And as always, make sure you subscribe and click the bell so you're updated on everything that I post over here. And if you're not following me on other social media platforms, check the links in my link tree. Make sure you do that too. I'm a bundle of fun over there too. And I've managed to go a couple days and not be put in TikTok jail, and watch me end up in TikTok jail tonight. But till tomorrow, y'all.
Conservative Christians love to scream about the importance of family values until it's Amy Grant caring for her own family who just happens to be gay. Evangelicals are losing their minds and criticizing Amy because she is loving too much. Let's read some of the comments. Daughter of Jezebel. Thus why people started calling her Shamey Grant. Signs of the end of times. The devil is alive and moving souls. I have no respect for this woman who started her career eating off the Lord's plate. Judas! I agree. God said one man, one women, not pick and chose. It's blaspheming against God teaching. Wow, aren't you a bozo? Love God and love each other. Become wealthy, become woke. But in all seriousness, I want to thank Amy Grant for being a true demonstration of Christ's love. There are far too many queer people that have been completely shunned by their evangelical family, and that is not love.